everybody's okay, I guess. We call this one to order on the 27th of January. We certainly have a quorum. You public speak, and we got Jim, John, myself, and Carol present, so we certainly can discuss some business. Thing I guess we can ask for, so the boys can get out of here, Stan Tech to introduce new representatives. So I guess you have the floor. There's no opposition.
No, go that direction.
Oh, I just want to, two items. One, the trees that were causing obstructions to the airport that resulted in the FAA denying night incident minimums have been cleared.
I knew that, but have they corrected it on the approach way?
Have been cleared and the FAA's been notified and they're working on correcting it. I don't know what the status of it is right now. So that should be fixed shortly. And there was a card, whatever they call it, report, a pilot report a few months ago about the instrument departure procedure out of here. In short, he was following the wrong procedure. He was following the old procedure that took him to the NDB. And he was concerned that the Air Traffic Center, Boston Center, wasn't aware of any procedures, which they wouldn't know each airport by verbatim. But as I pointed out to Joe, the pilot did follow the wrong procedure. It was an outdated procedure, and I showed him the correct procedure. So hopefully that's, and I think I'm not sure the FAA is notified on that or not. I think they just notified you out of a formality, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so there was no response required. Anyhow, that is much it. Other than that, I did introduce Ryan Lilly to most of you. Ryan's a new employee with Stantec. Ryan comes after 13 years of Air Force experience as a flight engineer on C-130s and G5 Gulfstream, working with the VIP group down in Andrews. He and his wife were both in the Air Force. They left several years earlier to pursue a non-military life because of all the deployments, and we hired him. He's actually halfway through or 3/4 way through school for engineering. So we hired him, what, 6 months ago?
6 months ago.
6 months ago, and he's gonna be my replacement because I'm retiring in June.
No pressure.
No pressure. Let's do it. I'm gonna leave in June regardless.
Come.
Yeah, that's all I have from Stantec at the moment.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. And we'll stick around in case you have any questions.
I get a quick question. Can I ask Irv something? Irv, so earlier you told me that there's a procedure for mentioning to the FAA about getting the departure procedure straightened out. As a pilot, I think I'll do that on an individual basis.
You can. Yeah, the FAA allows anybody to file a request for a new procedure, whether it's an approach procedure or departure.
Would that be handled? Do you have a contact information? I guess my question.
I can get it to you, or you can just FAA. I can send it away.
That'd be great.
I'll send it to Joe.
The problem is it leaves us without a departure procedure.
Well, you still have a procedure.
Oh, I understood we had one.
It's just not an instrument procedure. It's climb and visual conditions over here.
Right, but the problem is the controller didn't know anything about it. So I think in consideration of that, our best procedure is to have them review the departure procedure. So
Yeah, you can request that they develop a specific procedure out of here, whether it's to the south, north, east, or west, or direct.
So you can no longer go out here, just solid IFR, you have to go be a
You
VAR.
cannot leave your solid IFR. Because there's no way for the FAA to protect you from terrain clearance. You have to climb in visual conditions, I think, to 4,000 feet. You circle over the field in 4,000 visual conditions. You would file a flight plan. Say Rangeley to XYZ airport, but you have to depart and climb. You would call and get your clearance, and then you would climb in
So
visual.
no longer you just get a void down and go. And that's because,
Well, I'm not sure about the void time.
RQM.
You still have to climb.
RQM. That's why RQM is listed in the DP.
so there is a drawback to losing it.
Yeah, and nobody ever noticed that the fact that by losing RQM, it deletes it makes void our DP,
You can't use RQM on your GPS fix.
not legally.
The FAA could develop a procedure, I think, using develop a fix.
You can put an intersection in here.
And it could be the missed approach point or something like that. Yeah, the missed approach point's over the airport, right?
Missed approach point, no, the runway 14 up to is over by Bald Mountain.
Is there a fix you go to?
It's a flyover waypoint for the missed approach
Waypoint.
procedure,
Yep.
and it is,
And I bet that's the 4,000 feet, right?
it is,
No,
or,
this approach.
well, it's,
2440 or thereabouts.
Whatever gives you terrain clearance over the mountains, which is 1,000 feet.
I mean, look, I got it right
Forget
here.
1,000 feet might be.
So the plate for runway 14 is what I'm talking about. And the missed approach procedure is runway 14 is climb to 2,400, then climbing right turn 6,400 direct Orco. So Orco is over by Bald Mountain. So that's the missed approach procedure, given that that's an
How close
existing.
to Orco is the old NDB?
It's about
So far.
halfway there, so there's your old NDB. Orco is 8.3 from runway 14. And there is where our QM used to be. So. You know what I can do is I'll reach out to the FAA
Yeah,
as an
there should be a
individual.
way to get out of here. In the end.
What does life flight use now? You know,
They don't go if it, they don't have to go.
they do.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They go in there.
We just gotta be,
I could reach out to Josh and ask him with like.
That seems insane that you'd have minimums of 2440 coming in, but you gotta go to 4,000 coming out. 4,000, you would need the approach.
Can I ask a suggestion?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I cannot, I'm not sure if you can you hear me?
yeah, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So my name is Mark, so I'm new, that's my first time at the Airport Commission. I'm a pilot too. I have a suggestion concerning the departure procedure. I think the RQM NDB that has been decommissioned is exactly positioned where the final approach fix of the RNAV Delta is. So that's the ZEMC intersection. And because I flew like a few times there, and that's exactly, I mean, you can look at the coordinates. I looked at the database. That's exactly the ZEMC. So I'm wondering if, I don't know if we can request that, have to request that as a pilot directly, or we can request together, but looks to me that it would be very simple to keep the old departure procedure and replace RQM, or request to replace the RQM by ZEMC. So that would be kind of a, the FAA is never responsible for terrain obstruction on the departure anyway. I mean, the pilot has to, it's even possible for a pilot to design their own procedure. There's no, the FAA cannot guarantee, of course, they don't have radar contact, they don't have, so unless there is a procedure, a published procedure, they have no way of knowing exactly where they are. They can just clear you and guarantee that there's no other aircraft in the approach, but they cannot guarantee that. I mean, you are responsible for your terrain clearance.
Mark, you fly part 135, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Would a departure procedure that was not published, would that be within your OPLMs according to your 135 certificate?
I cannot do that myself. No, not on the 135.
so-
I can do that on part
91.
191, but not on 135. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No.
so it likewise would affect med flight as well,
Yeah, yeah.
because they're not flying, well, even though they are flying part 91, they're likely to be limited by their insurance agency and
Right.
not. So this would affect them as well.
No, we'd need to have I think we'd need to have a real approved departure procedure. I was just saying that it seems to be that there's a very easy fix for the FAA that replace RQM by ZEMC, and because they know it's I filed the flight plan when I leave Rangeley. I file ZEMC and then to whichever point, and yeah, but I can do that under 91. But you're right. I mean, I cannot do that under 135 if I have passengers on board. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So referencing that, someone is going to make, a few people are going to reach out to the FAA, see if we can go back to the old published departure procedure.
And by the way,
Dempsey for RQM.
I'm sorry, sir.
yeah, also, may I ask, I just looking at the departure procedure that now is published, and as of, let's say, January 23rd, so that's the current one, it still mention RQM, NDB. So whomever filed this thing, I mean, he's correct. It's still, I don't know why they mention it's an outdated procedure. I have it in front of me, and it still mentions, from runway 14, climbing right turn, direct RQM to cross at or above 3,900 and etc. So it's still there. I don't think they have updated that in the.
3.2 is the same. So what I'll do is I'm gonna send an email to the FAA and tell them that RQM no longer exists. Recommend they change it to ZEMC on the departure procedure, because you said it's excellent observation, Mark. It's at the same location. So now that we do have a flyover waypoint that identifies the same location, I think it needs to be listed in the departure procedures. Yes.
Thanks.
In agreement on that?
Yeah, I'll send out the email.
Okay. Anybody does not understand what was happening?
Would you like the consultant to do that or me to do that for
I
you?
would think so, but Mark, I think it would make sense that you might have a little bit more firepower discussing the departure procedure being requesting.
I'm
that.
gonna fill out the same form that anybody else.
I know, but what has any more likelihood coming from you?
But
to
what
do
I'll do is I will reach out to, my point of contact. I've been working with Kelly.
Mark?
I was just going to say, we've always had the consultant.
Right.
Ask those questions to the FAA, because things can kind of get off track and get confusing.
I didn't realize it was a problem with the departure procedure. What's the point in having a arrival procedure if you can't get out?
Right.
Oh, based aircraft fees you can collect.
Yeah.
They're collecting fees.
All right, thank you all for that. To discuss, anybody would interested in letting me know what they think about the meeting, the minutes from the previous meeting. It's 26.
I'll make a movement, I'll move that we approve the minutes of August 26th.
I have a motion to approve the minutes. There. All
I'll second.
second. Anybody opposed? Anybody in favor? Good. Now. Public to speak on a non-agenda item.
Jerry, you have two other sets of minutes.
Oh, I do?
September 5th.
Sorry.
September 30th.
Hold back on the public to speak. Two other minutes. I need approval on the other minutes, September 5th and September 30th.
We have to do them.
You know, I'd make a motion, we approve the minutes of both.
Okay, I would second that. Anybody opposed? All in favor? Now, we're off to the non-agenda item. So any public? With none?
There's one other item, that's exhibit A.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, before you move too much further, if we could just wrap up any business for the consultants. Exhibit A is on your agenda. Allowed to speak about it.
Oh, I thought you were all done. Okay, go ahead.
We missed that one. Exhibit A is on here because I'm going to ask, or have asked, Stantec to help out with an update. The reason I asked that, I'm gonna step way back here for a second. Last fall, the Board of Selectmen held a couple of hearings about snowmobile routes in town, on the streets here in town. Just to kind of refresh those and update those, and conversation came up about using Frenchie's Way, which goes through the airport property to the sewer plant as a snowmobile access route. There was some concern from some of my staff and others about using the road itself with snowmobiles. The board did not make that part of the access route. What resulted from that conversation was me looking into the ability for snowmobiles to run on the airport property, adjacent to that road. So I'm summarizing, of course, but when I reached out to Amy Kwame at FAA, she said, we can talk about that, I'll need some information. One of those things that she needs is the exhibit A, which I sent to her, but town hasn't updated the exhibit A in some period of time, certainly before the runway extension. So my conversation with the FAA about snowmobiles is kind of waiting for an updated exhibit A. Exhibit A is the document that shows all the parcels that make up the airport property. Any updates to the facility should be reflected on that.
So can I ask, what is the problem?
It's out of date. It doesn't show the runway extension.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, so I'm working with the FAA to try to determine where can this go safely. And she's looking at a document that's
I thought you were talking
quite
about,
outdated.
current ongoing, current problem
Well,
of use of,
there were two things. Number one, we brought it up because I've asked them to give us an estimate on the cost to prepare a revised exhibit A, which I think we should do regardless of whether or not we do it in the context of the snowmobile.
seems to me that should be done whether it's snowmobiling on the property.
Right. And then second, I want the flavor of the commission on what your feeling is about snowmobiles in that vicinity.
Crossing the Suplee Road off to the left still, you mean?
So I'm talking about from Loon Lake Road as far as right before the sewer plant where they can connect on the trail.
They've always gone all the way down the bowling alley.
I understand that.
It's certainly not within the bike path
It's not, but FAA needs to bless it.
because it's inside of their footprint.
Mhm. Yes.
But yet they don't even know where that footprint is.
They have a rough idea.
They have a pretty general idea.
Didn't we go through this when they put Frenchie's Way in? About trucks and cars using it, it's not a public way, it's an access road.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we did.
I don't see that the snowmobile are any less closer a problem for that than the people accessing the Suplee.
I tend to agree with you. I just want to make sure that we're okay with the FAA before they.
I think we should have whatever you just said, Title A done anyway. We should understand the plot, what we do in fact own it continuously. Now that we've acquired some other stuff. But then taking a look at where the snowmobile trail is no different than taking a look at where the Suplee Road is. If it works there.
But I also think it's important to make sure they stay on a groomed trail or a marked trail. That's-
I asked if there was a problem, he indicated no.
No, I don't have a problem with it as long as they do it.
Right.
I get more concerned when the snowmobile trail comes around the end of the 1-4 end of the runway. Every once in a while, you'll see somebody try to climb the rocks, and there should be some signs down there discouraging that, because although they really haven't disturbed much, but it could. The mountain sleds.
That trail comes right by the mouth of that. I thought it came
Right
out
at
of
the
the woods.
bottom, right, it comes
I thought
out,
it comes
right
out
at
of
the
the woods.
bottom of 1-4 and it goes around
I thought it comes out of the woods by that old red Dodge truck.
Yeah. Yeah. You got marked out the back
Oh,
there.
sorry.
This all started last year. That, some one town department, I don't know which one, put a sign up that snowmobiles couldn't drive where they're always going between Frenchie's Way and the base of the slope on the airport runway. And then all the people that live on Guile Road and Pemaquid Trail and those things that have always accessed the main snow machine trail that way, became unhappy, that they couldn't get to the main trail anymore because they bought their places for snowmobile.
Okay.
And so this is just kind of working its way through
Yeah, that
to
makes
resolve.
sense.
Yeah, this is the first time it happens.
That makes sense.
That being allowed, but wanting to go through the FAA to make sure that, they have a leg to stand on to access that area.
You know,
Yeah, it's not a public trail as much as it's a public access from the other roads.
You don't
across
think
the
we're gonna
street.
trip ourselves by asking if it's okay?
That question's already been asked. In the beginning stages of the review, what I was asked for was the exhibit A from the town, which I provided. But it doesn't show enough detail to help the decision makers at FAA make a decision Yeah, they, mainly because of the area you're talking about, Harold, where it comes around the 14, that didn't exist at the time of the drawing of.
And I didn't know what Mark was just talking about, that there was some needed public access, snowmobile access from over by the mine, right? In the mine area.
No, before you get to, the airport, those subdivisions on the right-hand side, people would come out and get on the little piece of open ground, that the town owns as airport property, go straight across the Loon Lake Road, and they drive down to the edge of the airport and pick up the main snow machine trail there.
You know, it doesn't cross there.
What's that?
It doesn't cross there.
People's Trail does further down.
Where it crosses Loon Lake, no,
Yeah.
Lake Road, nowhere does
So
it.
there are two separate things. There's the main trail that exists on the sewer plant
Yeah.
property, and then there's what's called access.
Oh,
local
access,
routes.
because the main trail doesn't.
That's how this came up with the board, was updating local access routes. And we can't, the board can't, they have the authority on their streets to say by vote that we allow it on the far right-hand side with certain conditions. It was questionable, still is questionable, if they can do that on the right-hand side of Frenchie's Way because of its, the nuances of being an FAA property. So in the beginning phases of solving that problem is getting exhibit
Well,
A.
in my opinion, the answer, I don't know if you need it both from us, 'cause I think it's done anyway, but making the airport plot on one piece of paper makes sense. Right,
Yeah.
what do you type?
I think we should, the exhibit A should be updated.
Exhibit A, yeah.
I've already requested that. And I just want to make sure you're aware of it. We'll bring it back to that. What did I miss, or if anything?
No, it's the biggest thing for us is that the existing one was drawn up by a draftsman. So we're gonna, before they invented computers. So we're gonna convert it to a CAD file and then we'll have to get the files from DPW on the road road. We'll get the road and the runway extension. Put
But
on.
wouldn't it just be a surveyor to put all the pieces together?
We don't really need a surveyor. We know, nothing's changed at the property. We know what the airport property is. I don't think any additional property was acquired for the runway extension. Just a matter of getting that extension shown on it and then the rerouting of Blue Lake Road. That's all. And we'll put it into computer files, so that way it can be updated again. Probably by the time, next time you update it, we want to be using CAD and computers, so who knows?
What I see the other day, by 2027,
It won't be our problem.
2027, we're not gonna be using checks anymore.
So,
I'm sorry. Anyway,
no, I think it's important that they have that access to that.
any other correspondence besides that? Bring to our attention.
No, not out of order, no.
And we had number 7, right? Reports of the commission. I believe we are. I don't think, other than us working on the bylaws. And other than us reviewing the budget one-on-one that we finally have in front of us as to what the projected budget is. Not today, but one-on-one, so that when we return, we could discuss it. Maybe I'm out of order. I'm supposed to report to the town manager. I'm sorry. No reports of the commission, so that's where I think we are. We'll get to bylaws shortly.
Sure.
And the budget we'll work on privately and then bring it to the next meeting, Jim. Look at the budget.
Better do the budget this meeting, because
What's that?
it's gotta be finalized. at the end of-
The budget committee and the board will be
Yeah.
receiving that budget. They're not gonna finalize it tomorrow night, but they'll be hearing about the airport budget tomorrow night.
Well, I guess maybe we should probably better flip through it
Yeah, if you
tonight.
wanna look through it tonight, give me any feedback,
Okay, not necessarily right this minute, but I think I saw it on the agenda somewhere down the road here. No, yes, I did. There is a, yeah, okay. So no reports to the commission or from the airport manager.
The only thing I would like to report that's not on the agenda is the AWAS was inspected on the 12th of January. There was a sensor that was replaced. I think it was a dew point sensor, air temperature and RA, relative humidity sensor. So that was replaced.
And the beacon is operable again.
Beacon is operating. I think there was a wire that burned out when that was put. Wes fixed that up. The PAPIs have been certified. Those are also certified on as well. So any lights that needed to be corrected were,
What was the problem with them? The alignment?
and there's no notes about alignment in here, although I did make sure that he checked that, he asked beforehand. The bulbs had the wrong connectors on those. He's denoting that they were in bypass condition, which is not a good situation, gonna be
What is bypass? Can you elaborate on that?
they would not allow the PAPI to shut down if angles were dangerous.
Oh, so they,
That was corrected. So.
so
apparently,
when they were,
when those were installed.
when they were incorrect, they didn't fail, they stayed right incorrect.
Yeah, according to this, yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Are the PAPIs tied to the runway lights and the?
No, they're on.
Okay, so you're out there, they're on.
I've always been opposed to, but it seems senseless to be running those things 24/7. You would think that they would either be timed out daylight or,
A lot of them are tied to the runway lights.
I suspect with LED today, they don't cost that much, but I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, those bulbs are not LED.
Oh, they aren't?
No, they're intentionally heated so that they melt snow.
Have you ever seen a PAPI?
Oh, yeah.
The,
Oh, yes, yeah, Wisconsin's are, a lot of them are.
I've floated a lot of airports.
where that seems, I don't know what the cost is. And it's also from a maintenance standpoint, you're not wearing them out.
Right, understood.
Anybody think that maybe at some point we should discuss that? About making those PAPIs on the runway lights, if possible.
My understanding is they're supposed to be on 24/7.
We have a professional pilot telling us a lot of the
I'm
airports.
not arguing, let you know.
They're around 24%.
Us too.
I can ask Dave Neto if he wants to look into that.
Yeah.
Would you? Just for the cost savings.
Yeah, definitely, if they're running nonstop, plus you're replacing bulb.
I want to be clear, my understanding is that those are.
Understood, but we're hearing conflicting. Mark,
Yeah, but when we got the money together to have those PAPIs installed, they told us they would come on with the lights. But then when they went up, they stayed on all the time. And that came up on the airport commissioner's question.
I don't remember that, but I remember we,
Whoever he spoke to told them they needed to stay on.
and
There's
that,
somebody else that can refute that, that will change
and
it.
someone could have misspoken. I mean, someone could have misspoken, whoever that was.
Be beneficial, I think, if they came on with the runway lights and not were on.
You would think. Well, thank you for all that information. We'll look, if you look into that, would appreciate it. As far as the tree update, we got it. We're all updated on the trees and the approach plates. I'm sorry, the NOTAMs or the, whatever has been corrected that is no longer raised minimums in the evening.
They've been notified, I'm not sure the timing of it.
Well, just skip, just to be clear, so who's gonna check on the PAPI, asking about the PAPI?
Yes,
You guys been?
yeah.
I'll check with our engineer, Dave.
I guess it's ready to look at what Jim and John might have come up with the bylaws. You guys get a chance to work together on some ideas.
We worked on most of it together. And after much hand wringing and thought and consultation with lots of people, I do have what I call a copy that's suitable for us to review. And what I was planning on doing is sending out an email to this group, so that way we can look at it. And if you choose to have some revisions, we can do so.
I know I've spoken to you on the phone a few times. I know Jim and you have been working on it. Have you spoken to any other board members about your thought process? So I mean, everybody's kind of on board with what you do.
I've spoken to, I haven't spoken with Harold yet. But no, so the three of us, we've spoken.
Okay.
And I put in your information, your input, and Jim's input, and
Well, I'm anxious to see it out as soon as possible. So,
all right, I'll email out over tonight.
all right, so we can get this. I know Joe was anxious to get this put to bed, so.
Yeah, I'd love to get it done. too.
August or October.
I'm sorry.
It's been a while.
Oh, more than that, it's been a year.
There'll have to be a public forum on those.
For us,
bylaws.
for the airport committee to accept it or the selectmen.
Right, the public gets a chance to comment on those as well.
So the next step would be us reviewing them, the step after that is.
You should have a rough wrap up available
I didn't know
to
that.
people that want to look at it.
Oh, I'm sure of that, but I would have thought that would happen at the selectmen's end.
Well, any action, just to clarify, any action, you're not required to put those out, but it's best practice. But any action you take on them, you are required to vote on it in this room. And any substantive conversations that you're having really should happen here. It's okay for two folks to talk. It kind of skirts the intent of the FOAA. If two of you are talking and two of you are talking, I mean, you can do that. Technically, it doesn't say that you can. It says in a forum, you can't talk outside of a meeting.
Well, if you
But the whole intent is to make sure the public understands, you know, what's happening and how it's being conducted.
If you could get it to us and Joe as soon as possible, what your guys have come up with. So we can at least hash it out and say, yes, no, or absolutely no.
I can do that tonight.
Yep.
Yes, you would review it again at your next meeting, which is what, the end of February? Okay,
But we should have a chance to weed through it ourselves before the meeting and say absolutely not. Or this is.
yeah,
not
we should
gonna
be able
work.
to make some, you can look at it individually, certainly, but, you know, any discussion or deliberation.
Well, I'm glad we're doing it the way we're doing it, because we would have been months doing it here, line by line.
So if we have a disagreement though, then what happens between now and next meeting? If we can't agree on something, then we're gonna be sitting here 30 days from now doing the same thing.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen. I think,
Well, I'm just saying that, you know, I'm tired of this process.
no, I know that. I got the impression.
Okay, I'm gonna be clear about that.
It's fine.
I think if there's some wordsmithing or word changing that needs to be done, we do it here at the table. Next
In
meeting.
30 days,
What's that?
like at the next
At the
meeting.
next meeting. Then we finalize the final draft and then it gets put out as our recommendation.
It's a lot of work to go through that whole thing in even one meeting.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know,
So that's why.
The
I
idea
said-
is
John did
that,
a lot of the work really, you know, and we did, you know, an hour here, an hour there together. But yeah, he did a lot of the wordsmithing and, but it's 90% there.
I gave John my opinion there. And you, from what I had seen.
Yeah.
The other day about whatever, that need to be discussed tonight, but.
So-
And once we make those corrections, I spoke to Joe about it the other day. I mean, as long as we've got a handle on the fact that we don't lose control.
So if I were to email it out to all, and if each one could get back in touch with me individually, it wouldn't be in violation of any sunshine laws. And you discussed your wants and needs and desires. And I took all of those into consideration for a draft that we could then review again.
Well, I think the definition of you
Before the
taking
meeting.
into consideration is a bit unreasonable. I think if you've got to have consensus of the whole board.
Oh,
How we're
absolutely.
gonna do that, I'm not sure.
I want to make everybody happy is my goal. You know, that's, so my consideration is taking everybody's input and making it
Okay,
one.
okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm the owner of this at all. But if I were to take everybody's input, see if I can make everybody happy. And before the next meeting, if we could have one rough draft that we could then finalize at the meeting end of next month, the 27th or whatever it is.
Let's hope we can. We've gone on for a long time.
Way too long. I am so frustrated with it too. So I'll get that email out. We can pick it up from there.
And you are, sir,
Mike Beebe.
local.
You're a pilot?
We're looking at it.
God bless you.
Okay, based on the budget draft, based on the bylaws, let's take a quick look at the budget while we're here, just to see if code stands out. That we do or do not agree with. Or what do not agree.
can I back up 1 second? I just want to check with John. John, would you be opposed to the rough draft going on the website under Airport Commission?
I don't see any opposition to that at all.
That would just speed up the process for the public as well.
The five of us have reviewed it.
Yeah.
Oh, after we review it?
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Get it,
Yeah.
review it, and let's get it. up there and done. So the next meeting we come out with a copy.
That's when it would be made public anyway, correct, Joe? After we review it, find a rough draft or a final draft that we agree on, then it goes public. That's how it works?
Well, anytime you submit it, you know, it's a public document. It's really up to procedurally, the folks that are gonna adopt this are the board of selectmen. Even though they're your bylaws, you're gonna make a recommendation to them. They're gonna check them out and review it and see if it's appropriate. And then they'll be the ones that adopt them and then say, here are your bylaws. That process is intended to be built to receive public feedback. We look at it as though it's a policy. So there's a policy adoption process which requires a first and second reading. That's intended for the public to be able to chime in. So that's where I envision, you know, the formal public process being, but they, you know, if you submit it, it's a public document, the public has access to it as soon as you submit it. In fact, it's a public document now if you've been working on it as an airport.
As a committee, yeah.
Exactly.
So I have a question for you. This New England region project for 2025 for the airport, crack ceiling and reconstruct some of the taxiway. And that is not the parking area, that's just the center taxiway.
I believe so.
See, because that doesn't look like a lot of money. Just getting out to runway 32. Or the, not to do with the,
I'm not the engineer of record, so I'm not 100%
it just seemed awfully cheap, that's why.
pretty sure that's what it was.
And so crack ceiling would include total repainting,
It should, yeah, Dave and I talked about that.
with 225,000, it includes crack sealing, manicuring and painting the full runway.
Yes, 99% sure.
I would hope, okay.
Mr. Chair, Dave and I are actually working on scheduling a scoping meeting next week. Either the sixth, I think the sixth.
So could we get a better definition of what's happening up there for 350,000?
Yeah, that's the intent of that meeting, is to kind of drill down into.
So we should be in the loop on that as to what's actually going down and what's gonna be accomplished out of 350 grand. Okay, somebody tell me how I'm supposed to interpret this.
Well, I think the town manager should run us through the compensation line right off the bat.
You want page, first page of it?
44, yes.
The way it's formatted, the 2026 column, it says management, that's what I'm proposing to. Working rate, right, 25 year to date is what we spent so far this year, and the 25 budget is what we had approved, or the town meeting approved last year. Then all the way to the right, 23 to 24 are previous years. Right off the bat, there's an increase here in this line, 0101, currently it's 4110. I'm proposing 15.6. That's to have an airport manager other than me come in. It's obviously part-time. I think I based that on roughly 30 hours, $30 an hour, 8 or 10 hours a week. That's just what I based it on.
Problem is you never find it.
Well,
You gotta start. You gotta get a start.
there are some I did like a real quick survey with some of the folks that I know, town managers. That information's in here too. I only got 5 or 6.
Now, has the budget committee approved that item?
I haven't seen it yet, so the budget committee and the board of selectmen will be getting this presented to them tomorrow. So that's the first big change, and that's why I did that. I didn't change anything until, well, of course, FICA Medicare is connected to the salary, so those changed proportionately. The next change I made is in diesel, and that's based on the average over 12 months in price per gallon.
Supplies, what do we
So
buy?
supplies is the total of the whole.
Oh, it's not a line,
sub-account.
it's not a line item, it's a total of all the above.
You can see that's up about $300, that makes sense. So 1508 is up 300, the rest of the stays the same. If we go to 45, this one's up considerably, 2001. That gets Starlink installed up there, that'll help with the weather camera that's going out, but also will help with the security cameras that we had installed. Those are, they work, but they need a little bit more little more juice to transmit out.
Do we have a way of knowing what was spent of that last year's $3,000, let's say you budgeted? Oh, yeah, okay, you actually spent 1,300 of it.
Yeah, well, no, that's today, 25, in the middle column there on the left is year-to-date, current budget. If you go over to 23, 24, you can see the actual spend, 1,600 and then 1,700.
So for a total of, get to the very bottom. 56 today as opposed to basically 41 or 47 before, and that's all, basically the increase is all in your projected employee, right?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I need to point out, at 3520, actually 3527 is janitorial. That's out to bid currently. I don't expect that it's gonna be any less than 1,600, but it's a zero in there because we don't know what that's number gonna be, what that number's going to be. We have a meeting tomorrow or Wednesday actually to meet with, we have one person submitted an RFP. So once I have that meeting, I'll have a better idea.
How often do they clean it?
It's weekly in the wintertime and I think bi-weekly in the summertime.
When does it, now what happens to the $14,000 left over last year? Does that just go back to the general fund or does that stay in the airport fund?
Yep.
Huh?
Yes,
So the actual spent last year was 33
yes,
and you raised 47.
yep.
And did you ever determine what the income side was, real taxes? With any revenue?
I didn't do that. I don't have revenue with me tonight.
Remember we talked about it a few months ago, just
Yeah, I brought
curious.
revenue in with me at
It
that.
would be interesting to see in the town report that it showed a positive $20,000 revenue with $33,000 worth of expenditures, not as painful for the voters. Oh, that's my thought. Okay, any other question on the potential budget going to the budget committee?
He's got a breakdown on the next page too about, looks like the airport manager.
Yeah, no, that's just the survey that I did.
Survey.
Town, some of them, not all over the chart. Some had full-time managers, some had like Carabasset, for instance, has a part-time one, gets $1,000 a year stipend. It's just kind of a Greenville, they have an employee that's there that gets 25,000, but town managers, the de facto airport manager. So just throwing that out there. My methodology again was having someone part-time that's
Well, you're not,
30 hours, $30 an hour, 8 or 10 hours a week.
I don't know which airport on this list that Ringy kind of runs with. Honestly, I don't see one on this list other than maybe. Well, population it certainly doesn't. Carabasset and Rangeley are not comparable.
Yeah, I had no control over who responded. I didn't.
No, you understand what I'm saying? I would recall Carabasset and Rangeley are comparable facility.
They've done a lot with hangars recently.
They're not any longer, no more.
Oh, I agree. No night use, no. Yeah, I agree.
Caribou, I'm not familiar with. But anyway, that's good information to have. Well. Anybody that doesn't have a handle, or understanding of the budget numbers that were presented to us.
Joe, do you have a ballpark for the revenue that came in for the airport?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I really don't. It doesn't, so the revenue side is not gonna have any effect on what your expenses.
No,
No.
it does mentally.
Just curious, yeah, mentally.
Mentally, it does.
Yeah, I mean, I can get that.
I mean, if you had $100,000 expenditure, you had $99,000 worth of revenue, it's pretty easy for the taxpayers to say that's not a bad deal. Right?
No, I that with, I can certainly get it for you.
Okay, I have lost my agenda, but I think I reviewed it. As far as the budget, we're all good with that. And FAA intent form 2025, one.
That's the one you looked at earlier that had the 2 projects for the year.
Okay.
I just wanted you to see that had been submitted on the day of the deadline, that was due January 15th, so they've got it.
Okay.
And thanks to Dave
let's hope that, as I said before, that project becomes public before it gets done. Before it's completed, that it becomes public, so
Well, that's part of the reason I wanted to make sure you saw that.
that we are aware of, and the town, the community is aware of what's gonna happen.
And that's done as a capital project?
Yeah, it's on the CIP.
And that all happens with AIP money.
Most of it, there'll be, the match, the town match. One note there is one of those projects, we've been encouraged by FAA to use BIL funds, that's the Biden infrastructure law. We're gonna use those up because they're programmed into our CIP. I think those expired June 30. So that would be the design, I believe, is recommending that project. Dave and I will get more into detail on that.
So snowmobile, we've already dealt with. Everybody understands the snowmobile issue. And we understand the departure procedure issue. And you're gonna try to take care of that and see if we can't get something going on that, because it seems senseless to have an arrival and no departure.
Well, you have one, it just isn't,
1,000 feet.
It's a VFR, unfortunately.
it's VFR.
Yeah, right. Announcement, I guess everybody's aware of the snowmobile this weekend. Let's hope that they don't knock over too many tombstones and run up and down the runway.
They won't.
Next meeting, February 24th. Everybody good with that? And are back to our regular time at what, 4:30?
Sounds good.
Assuming the room is available, and Joe will keep us posted on that.
Should be.
Anything else that we forgot about talking about? If not, I take the motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor of adjourning? Nobody opposed? Thank you, gentlemen, for showing up. And you, welcome to the community.
Thank you.